Greetings, doll lovers and horror fans. I am Master Dolly, the Doll Master, inviting you to my house of dolls, where the dolls come alive and the horror begins.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Oh, good morning, evening, or afternoon. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's intriguing, spooky podcast series for this October, True Ghost Stories. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. Welcome. So tonight we're going to dive in with one of our 5 series. Talk about my ghost story, but not my ghost story. It's our guests tonight's ghost story. Let's welcome to the show Nigel and Jamie from the UK. Yes. That should be like, oh. That wasn't so scary. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Doing really good. Thanks for having us, Paul.
You are very welcome, and humbled to visit us from the UK, and that's on my bucket list, is to visit some of the haunted places in that area across the pond. So, and I'm sure there's quite a bit over there, and you have a story to tell tonight that something that happened about 15 years ago.
Yeah, that'd be correct. It's about when I was about 20 years old. So I think it was around about 2009 or 2010.
Yeah.
And it all started meeting up with one of my friends at a local pub, and just having a catch up, just having a drink, and we got talking about the subject of these TV programs. I think what we had one over here was like Most Haunted or something. It was usually these ghost investigators going out on site trying to capture ghosts, and watching it, you didn't really know what was going on. There's just the camera shaking, going everywhere. Everyone's screaming. There's that horrible like night vision screen, and we was just having a joke and just having a laugh. So we decided after a little while we'd go to the church, which was literally about a 5-minute walk, and it was about late November. It was nighttime, and we was walking around this church, around the graveyard, because it's completely dark. And you're just being idiots, saying if there's any ghosts there, there's any spirits want to talk to us, just being idiots. And but across from the road is a little, I used to call it a lockup, but it was officially called a cage. But basically, it was a brick building that had 2 small rooms in it, enough to hold a few people overnight, whether they were, drunks or like minor criminals. They would hold them in there overnight until they process them the next day. So the only way to get in and out is by the front door, and above the door you had like like a grate. You'll see on the picture later. And so me and my friend Jack, I said to him, let's go over there and have a look in there. And so you can't get in there, but you look through the door. So we went over to this cage, and we were laughing and joking. And he goes, "Oh, I've got an idea." He pulls out his phone, and his phone had the voice recorder on it. And he goes, "If I put this next to the bars, try talking to the spirits." So he put his phone next to the bars, and his push recorder nodded. And I stood there and I was like, if there's any spirits there, knock twice for yes and once for no. And then we were silent for about like 20 seconds. And then we just burst out laughing. He stopped the recording, bearing in mind this is an empty street. There was no one else around.
Yeah.
And then he played the recording back. And what we heard scared the absolute living daylights out of us. He screamed. And that made me panic. And then he started running 50 yards to the nearest lamppost. And then, I freaked out and ran straight after him. But what we played back has disturbed me for years, even to the point that whenever I used to walk past that place at night, I'd make sure I was on the other side of the road and always in a hurry. Now, would you like me to share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
now, have you experienced anything since then? Anything kind of like resonate after that?
yes, I've got that wasn't my first experience. I've got many stories from when I was younger, when it all first started, and then to the latest one was in about 2021. But it's so sporadic that it happens every now and again. As you can see from my shared screen, it's this building here. So
it's like a little
building.
constable, like a little constable's hut.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were standing right here. It was pitch black. Well, obviously, other than that street light. And we recorded it and we played it back standing there, and we just took off running. Now I'll play the audio. I play it a few times so that people can hear it. But here we go. And as we play that back, it's still making me feel like goosebumpy.
Yeah, but bring the volume up a little bit. I heard like a hissing, like
Okay.
I did hear that.
How's let
me see.
Bear me one moment. Tell me if it gets any louder.
Oh wow.
Was that any clearer?
That was a little clearer. Yeah, I heard kind of like something screaming or like kind of like crunching in the background, huffing and kind of it's like.
Oh, bear with me one moment. I don't know why my iTunes has gone off. A bit of dashboard confessions for you there. No, that audio. So that was on my friend's phone, and when I ripped it off of his phone, I put it onto what was iTunes, and I had it on my iPod for years because I used to show like my friends and stuff, and no one ever believed me. So I had to work out how to get it off of iTunes back onto my desktop. So that's why I started playing dashboard afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Now, as far as the experience, um, any has and now as far as like what I mentioned before, is anything resonate? Has anything resonated with you shortly after when that happened that you can remember? Like, do you remember anything weird playing out in any dreams or everyday weird events that may have kind of
Mm.
tied into that experience? Like,
So the feeling I got from literally after that happened when we first played it back, the feeling I got was that it was trying to teach me a lesson to say that, because me and my friend, we were openly mocking and jesting and
mm,
making fun of spirits. So I feel like it was a bit of a warning. Not necessarily it would hurt us, but
yeah,
that it was annoyed and say, well, if you're making fun of us, this is what you got, because we was not expecting that. And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'd always get an uneasy
yeah.
feeling if I ever went past it. But
What I'm
yeah, it's
thinking
just
too is obviously everybody that was in the group. How many were you? It was
it
you,
was
your
it
friend.
was just me and my friend Jay. No, me and my friend Jack.
Okay.
It was us two, and we're the only ones on that street at night.
Do you
Um,
do you think maybe because I'm assuming you guys were inebriated a little bit. Obviously, you came back from a pub and you
yeah,
you literally had drank some spirits, either beer, whiskey,
rum and
something.
coke.
Yeah, there you
It was
go.
rum.
That may be alcohol, that the spirits detected the alcohol and they're going, well, these people are not in their right mind. We're on the other side looking out, and they're being dumb, they're being naive, and if they want to play, we'll play back.
Uh, that probably was the case. To be fair,
Yeah,
because it certainly did teach us not to mess around with that place again.
yeah. Have you tried anything since then? Have you I mean,
Yes,
I,
yeah. So, like me personally, so I've always had an interest in the paranormal from experiences when I was really young. But after that incident, I have been on a few what they call ghost tours. So
yeah,
I remember going to one place where you pay you paid a fee, and we went to this really old cottage, and there was a big group of people there, and it was run by like a company, a ghost like hunting company, and they had
mhm,
all like these different sections of the building, and they have like these like little activities set up. So we did try things like a Ouija board, but to be honest, with the group of people that I was with, I didn't know anyone, and it didn't feel real to me. It didn't feel like something was manipulating the board that wasn't one of us, if you know what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah. Especially with
So
that many people, I can't do stuff like that with that many people. I mean, and even investigations that I've been on, the minimal amount of people, the best. I mean,
yeah,
you definitely got to have somebody with you. It never go alone. It's kind of like scuba diving. You got to have a dive buddy, man. Like,
yeah.
uh, but no more than. Sometimes I say three,
No,
because the more people, the more
yeah,
energy that it can kind of. Because you don't know who's in the group. Somebody can be in the group that had a really bad day at work,
yeah,
disgruntled,
true.
so to speak, and just it
Yeah,
impresses that energy in with everybody. Um,
yeah.
but
I definitely got that vibe. That was more for it was clearly being sold as like a form of entertainment, because
yeah,
they did split you off into groups of about four or five, but they each had like an allotted time that they can spend doing one activity, and then straight after they go, someone else would come in, and it to me it just felt a bit like it didn't feel like what it should feel like if you're actually going to a place to do something, interacting with the other side. It just felt like cheap entertainment. Really.
Yeah, too commercial.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So Jamie, what experience do you would like to share? Do you have any? Oh, his audio.
Jamie, you got to unmute yourself.
I think he's on mute. Yeah, he did.
I'm not sure.
I can hear you.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh,
Hey, bring up your output level too.
okay. Can you hear me all right?
10-4.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess my interest in the paranormal goes back probably around 26 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was about 4 years old, growing up in a house in Cambridge, and I was woken up one night by a feeling that just somebody was sitting at the end of my bed. So yeah, I looked up, and my grandmother was there, who had died from cancer a few years before I was even born. And I remember having a small conversation with her.
Lost his audio again.
You lost your audio, Jamie.
Oh, really? I'm not sure why.
That's weird. Like bouncing.
That's really strange.
That's the spirits. You sound. I'm gonna get ready for this because, yeah, okay, you were recording this, but I've had past shows where we start talking about certain specific things, whether it's
And this is a very personal one as well. And
yeah,
with what I'm about to say, what ends this story,
right?
makes it even crazier. All right, so if somebody was interfering, but yeah, so I'm not sure where the audio cut off, but yeah, like I was saying, I was woken up by the feeling that just somebody was sitting at the end of my bed. I was 4 years old, and I looked up, and my grandma was there, who had died from cancer a few years before I was born. And I'd never met her. I didn't know what she looked like. But yeah, I remember having this conversation with her, which she said, "I'm better now." And the exact same thing happened to my mum and to my oldest sister, all in the same house, on separate occasions. She came to their bedside and said, I'm better now. I'm no longer in pain. And then the last thing she said to me, which still kind of sends shivers down my spine, is she said, "I'll come see you again one day, Jamie." And that was it. It wasn't a scary experience. It was a very warming, loving experience. Just like I was having a conversation with somebody that was my family, even though I'd never met her and I didn't really know who she was. It was just like having a normal conversation with somebody. I know I was so young, but it really made a lasting impression on me. And and since then I've had tons of experiences that I just can't explain. I like to think I'm mostly a skeptical person, and I think 99% of the time there is a reason, like explanation for something, but there's that other things have happened to me. I'm 30 years old, and just in these 30 years, every now and then just these really strange, bizarre things happen that you just can't explain. And like Nigel, we've known each other for over 10 years now. We're just both fascinated by this stuff, which is why we started our podcast, Your Ghost Stories. And we just want to, find out more, listen to, like yourself, just listen to people's stories and see, what kind of correlations we can come across, and build some kind of proof or evidence that there is, some kind of life after death, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we just find it fascinating, to be honest. And I've got a few more stories if you want to.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And just before you start, I've noticed that it's different between the United States and Europe. That it seems like here in the States that there's a lot more skeptics. there's more skeptics here than there is anywhere else in the world. But it depends on where you go. And I mean, I've run into so many people who just, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in that stuff, until they experience it.
Mm.
But at the same time too, I mean, we don't have as much history here in the States as there is elsewhere in the world, especially Europe, old Europe. I mean, you've got cities in Europe like Turkey and Edinburgh where there's cities under the cities that are ancient, that are so much history. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm not sure. The amount of people that you run into every day, do you see it? You feel there's a lot of skepticism about it out there.
Yeah, I definitely think there is. But like most people, until you've actually experienced it, I don't blame people. Why would you believe it? It's kind of similar to religion, I guess, in a way, where a lot of people nowadays, they don't really have a religion because it's hard to believe. It's hard to have faith that there is something, an invisible man in the sky. It's hard. It's hard to believe that there are invisible people who have died floating around your house.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar. But yeah, like you say, the UK has got a lot of history, and but I don't even think. I think from the few episodes, we've got a brand new podcast. We've only done about 16 episodes, but from the few episodes that we've done, it's clear to see. Can't really think of the point I was trying to make, but do you know where I was going with that, Nigel?
There's probably a lot more people than what we think who have who are even
Yeah,
skeptics, but they still have a story that they can't explain. So it's like they know something strange has gone on, but they don't want a full blown commit to believing in paranormal or ghosts. They just say, "Well, something really weird happened to me. I can't explain it."
Mm.
But yeah, this sort of thing. So I do think it's a bit. It's not exactly 50-50, but yes, we still have like quite a few skeptics over here in the UK, but also at the same time, there are many believers.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be a paranormal. We use paranormal way too much to describe so many different facets of the metaphysical field, but
Yeah.
it's synchronicities. And some people call them coincidences, but I call them synchronicities. That certain things happen in strange times, or well, not strange, but at the right time. And then when we notice those, when they happen, how they happen, and where they happen, it wakes us up and we have this epiphany going, whoa, what? Like deja vu. I mean, people really, even today, can't really explain why that actually really happens. But yeah, when it comes to spirits, ghosts, hauntings, I think today we have more evidence of life after death, ghosts, spirits, and hauntings than we do of finding what's on the bottom of the ocean. So
Yeah, you're probably correct there. Definitely, over these past, I suppose, as technology has progressed to the point now that almost everyone in the world has either a camera or a microphone on their phone at all times. It's easier to capture things, and some things you can say now with this AI thing. Oh, it's fake, and there could be an element of that, but at the same time, it's whether or not the person who's telling you how sincere they come across, because that could be everything really. When you can kind of tell when someone's being false and they're telling you a story, and you're like, yeah, that's just a story. But yeah, it's strange times that we live in at the moment, because I just see like things just become more and more weird.
Yeah.
As I navigate through this life. It's just, yeah, some things are
I
just unexplainable.
I can vouch for that. Things are picking up. Paranormal activity is picking up. Um, in and I'm hearing it from people who were skeptical about it, and it seems to be happening a lot more to people who I wouldn't say weren't believers. You didn't have to believe in it. It's just an experience. It's just an experience that everybody has to go through in order for an awakening to happen, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely experienced since the 2020 lockdowns. I started experiencing sort of like weird premonitions to a degree. Like nothing major, but for instance, I'll be driving. I remember clearly I was driving down the road, and in my head, because I was coming up to a hill, and in my head I said, "There's going to be a Celica come over the other side of that,"
Mm.
and within 2 seconds, a Celica, which is one of my favorite cars, came over the hill, and it was just this really strong sort of like premonition of knowing, and then it
Yeah,
happened,
yeah.
and I've had that
It's
happen a
like
few
that.
times
Yeah,
with
it's like that
things.
voice in your head is like telling you this is gonna happen, and then suddenly there it is.
Yeah, or someone
Yeah,
say, "You never guess what happened today," and I'll be like, "Boom," and then they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "How
yeah,
do you know that?" I was like, "Well, I don't know, just guessed."
yeah.
I
Man,
think there is something definitely in that, and I think humans are very disconnected to our potentially psychic side.
mhm.
Um, and I think some people have that in them, and I think it's how you use it and honing in on that skill. Like you say, Nigel, you just knew that it was going to happen. In your heart, you felt it. So in a sense, you've manifested that there. It's meant to be. Whether that's going into multiverses or what, and every scenario, every situation's always happened. Um,
Yeah, it's like you were
uh,
caught up in the quantum.
yeah, so,
It was the
uh,
example of living within the quantum field that it
yeah,
was. You
exactly.
knew. It's not that you knew it was going to happen. It was like it has already. Like Einstein said, how could we predict the future unless it has already happened?
And
Very true.
we're going a little bit off topic from ghosts here, but a
Yep.
few a few years ago, like just on that note, a few years ago, something happened to me, and so I guess I had a little bit of I'd call it a spiritual awakening, whether it was a real thing or whether it's just something that you know I invented inside my head. But
Mhm.
I got really really into all the manifestation, law of attraction stuff, and I was reading lots and looking into it a lot, and I was doing these. I did for the first time. I was doing a lot of meditation every day, about 45 minutes a day. This is especially
Yeah.
over the lockdowns, and I said to myself, "Right, I'm going to do a manifestation meditation," and basically, the first thing I tried was I entered a competition that came up on my social media. This competition went enter and win basically a home studio setup, and it was like a couple of £1,000 worth of gear, and at the time I really needed it for my career as a musician. And so I said, yeah, all right, I'm going to do this. Took me 5 minutes, got into this meditative state, and I just got that feeling that I knew it was, that it was mine. It was made for me. I felt I felt it. I smelt it. Every single thing about this, what I was trying to win. I put in a few quid for this competition, and I went in a 5 minute meditation, just saying, yeah, all right, it's mine. I'm calling it to me.
Yeah.
Um, and I saw it come to the post. I felt in my heart how it would feel to win all that stuff. A laptop, microphone, recording gear, and I just said it took me 5-10 minutes just in this meditation. I said, all right, and it's done. And I forgot.
Yeah.
I literally completely forgot about it. And then I got a message on Facebook from someone saying, is this you that's just won this thing? And I had my name. I was like, oh my god, like that's crazy. And the thing I said to myself, if this happens, if I win this, it's ultimate proof that this manifesting works. And
Yeah.
the problem is, since then, that was 2 or 3 years ago now. I haven't really, I haven't had the discipline to do that again, and just sit for 10, 15 minutes and focus on, what that thing that you want to see in your life, or that thing you want to appear. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but I just,
Yeah.
some people might
Yeah.
find that interesting because I find it fascinating.
Well,
And
that
it
can
links back.
segue. That story can segue into your next story, because I want you to tell the next your next experience.
Yeah, sure. So for me personally, so again, quite a lot of stuff happened from a young age. And like you were saying earlier, with you know, vibes of the people you're around, good energy, bad energy. I grew up with a lot of bad energy in my childhood and even into my adolescence and stuff. And a lot of things happened, I think, because of built up, pent up negative energy. But yeah, another thing happened. So I was around 9 years old, and so I used to live a few hours up the road in a different place called Southend, and we were going to just house sit. I was 9 years old, so with my mum and my stepdad and my little sister. We were just going to house sit my little sister's auntie's house, and so we were there, and we'd always heard stories over the years. Oh, this house is haunted. Our house is haunted. Things like a glass Pyrex glass would just smash in the cupboard while everyone's sitting watching TV, and just things happening like that. So I was always terrified to go there and stay there, and we had to stay the night. And I was
Yeah.
sharing a room with my sister at the time, and there was bunk beds, so we were just sharing a room. And I remember just going upstairs. I felt so much fear inside my body, just thinking, "Oh, I don't want to see anything." I've heard these stories about this house. I really don't want to see anything. And I just this overwhelming sense of just being scared. I was a 9-year-old kid. I was terrified of being there. And my sister was in the bathroom just getting ready for bed, and I was just walking around this bedroom thinking, "Oh, please be quick! Like, I don't want to be on my own. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up!" And I looked out, and I'm knocking on the bathroom door, saying, "Oh, how long are you going to be? How long are you going to be? Please don't be long." And just nothing but just pure fear, like just scared. I was a scared little boy. And I went back into the bedroom, and I thought I'll just look out the window. It was pitch black, a summer's night, probably 9, 10 o'clock at night. I was staring out into like a black garden, basically. Just there's a net curtain just in front of me, and then I was just staring out this window, just thinking, "Oh, I really don't want to be here. I don't want to be alone. Don't want to be alone." And out of nowhere, the net curtains in front of me, the white net curtains, it's like two invisible hands grabbed the curtains, lifted them. No windows open, nothing. Lifted them all the way to the very top. They stayed there for a few seconds, and they just dropped down. Like the curtains just dropped down right in front of my face. Oh, and I cried my eyes out, ran down the stairs. My mum was down the stairs. I was like, "Oh, that was probably the most terrifying thing that's ever happened to me."
Yeah. Man. Yeah, that would spook the hell out of me. Anybody. And you were how old?
About 9 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, there's no explanation. There was no windows open. There's nobody else in the room. It's like two hands. I saw two dents in the curtain. Just lift all the way to the top, and just stayed there for a few seconds, and just dropped right in front of my face. Just crazy.
Now, do you think maybe also, it's not to discount spirit, obviously. I mean, definitely spirit did exist. But do you think that your fear contributed to what had happened and how it happened?
Yeah. So rounding back to what I was talking about with manifestation before that story, I think something in me, whether the spirit felt saw how much fear and fed off the fear, or whether us humans are just so powerful that spirits are just something in our mind, a manifestation of a belief, or a deep set belief. So whether it was me that made that happen, or whether that was a spirit, I'll never know, but I can't explain it.
Yeah, it's like we're giving our fear is giving it energy, giving the spirits energy to do whatever
Yeah.
it is that they can do, just to kind of show it off and kind of be show off. They're like the bullies. So, yeah. Nigel, do you have is there anything else? You have another story? I can see it. I can feel it. There's something you want to share.
I've got loads. Some are like one of the major ones, which is my experience. It's all within the same house, the house I grew up in, the one that my parents still live in now. That was my first experience I had in there. But then over the years, there were stories from my brother, who obviously lived in the same house, previous ex-girlfriends who lived in the house with me. But yeah, my first experience was, again, I was very little. I must have been about, I would say, probably about 5 years old, and I used to share the bedroom with my brother, and we had bunk beds. And so he had the top bunk, and I had the bottom bunk, and my mum, she used to read us like a story before bed, nothing scary, just tell us a story. And I just remember one time that I was laying in bed facing the wall, because our bed was in the back far corner against the wall, against one wall. So I just remember waking up, I was staring at the wall, and I felt the bottom of the bed. I felt like pressure go on the bed, and at first I thought it was like the dog getting on the bed. And I just like lay there staring at the wall, like frozen, and thinking, "Is that the dog? Is that the dog?" And then feeling the covers going tight around like my legs. And I remember sort of peering over my shoulder like that, and I couldn't see anything. It was just there's nothing there. All I could see was like a dip on the bed.
Yeah.
And what probably made it worse was so my mum, she used to put a night light in the landing, which was just opposite the bedroom door. And bearing in mind this was in like the 90s, it was like this triangle thing, and it had a red filament in it. So it was like this really hellish red glow that would just like emanate into the room. And I was just frozen in fear, looked straight back at the wall, closed my eyes, and I just like kept saying to myself, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. And yeah, I ended up falling asleep. But this continued. I don't know if it was every single night, but it continued, and it made me afraid to go to bed. Even though my brother was sleeping in the bunk bed above me, I just felt so alone. And I took to the point of, this is really silly, but bearing in mind I am little and I was then afraid of the dark. So I would put a pillow over my face, and I'd pull the covers up to here. So literally all I had exposed was my nose, and I'd go to sleep like that.
Yeah.
And I remember it escalated to a point where I remember the bottom of the covers, I felt it. They were slowly being pulled down, and I could feel the covers like just start coming down. And as it got past my chin, I grabbed hold of it, and there was this like tug of war battle, like between me and this force pulling the covers. And I just screamed at the top of my voice, and my mum come running in the room and turned the light on. There was nothing, but that was the most frightening experience I had in the house. And just since like then growing up as a youngster, I was afraid to be in any room in the house on my own at nighttime. I always had to be like following someone. I didn't like the stairs. I didn't like walking past the stairs. Even if I was upstairs, I didn't like walking past it looking down, or if I was downstairs, I didn't like walking past it looking up. It was only at nighttime.
Yeah.
But other than hearing sort of like footsteps, and weird occurrences of like the TV turning itself on and off, nothing personally happened to me, but it was more sort of my brother who experienced a few things. But this was one of my exes. One of her stories was in the smallest bedroom, because we moved out for a while. It didn't work, so I had to move back in with my mum, and she came with me, and we was living in the box room, and we're sharing a single bed, and I was out. I think I was out for the night, and she was at home, not on her own, but she was upstairs on her own reading, and then she went to bed. And she said she woke up to a silhouette of like a figure of like standing at the bottom of the bed, and she looked up and she said, "Nigel, is that you? What are you doing?" And she said, "It didn't move." And she said, "Quit it, pack it in. You're scaring me." And she said, what she went. We had a bedside lamp on the side next to the bed, but the only way you could turn that on was by like the plug at the wall, which was like you had to put your arm down the side of the bed and feel around for the socket and turn it on. So she said the whole time she's staring at this figure at the bottom of the bed, and she puts her hand down between the bed and the wall, and she finds the plug, and she flicks the switch on. She said the moment she flicked the switch on, the light bulb exploded.
Whoa.
She said she screamed. The thing was still standing there. She said she screamed. She jumped past it and ran out the door. And that's when she rang me up, like hysterical, and like I'd come back here. I was on the way home actually anyway. So I came in, and she was just telling me everything what happened. But the weird thing about that room, again, going back a few years previous to that, that was my bedroom. And my mum, she used to, in the middle of the night, she used to get up to go to the toilet, and the bathroom was opposite that bedroom. And for some reason, those houses above the bedroom doors, they had like a pane of like glass above the door. And my mum said that she'd go to the toilet and she'd always see a blue light glowing from the glass at the top of my room. And she said that she told me this happened a few times, that she thought I fell asleep with the TV on. So she'd go to my bedroom, she'd open the door, and she said as soon as she opens the door, it's completely pitch black inside. And she said she knew I was in there, and then they said that weirded her out. And then I don't know why I'm rushing this, but a final story is with that room. And my brother come home from work. He was working as a security guard, so he came home. It must have been in the early hours of the morning, and he said he was walking upstairs, and he noticed again this blue glow above my door, and he thought I was still awake, so he sort of tapped on the door, and he's like, Nigel, and he said he opened the door, and he looked in, and he saw what looked like a woman laying on the bed with long black hair over their face. And as he looked in, and then he went, "Oh, sorry," and closed the door. He thought it was he thought my girlfriend was over. So he went to bed, and then he went in a few hours later. He went down for breakfast, and he said to my mum, he's like, "Is Nigel not up yet?" And she goes, Nigel's not here. He stayed at his girlfriend's last night." And then that freaked him out, because obviously there was no one in that room, yet he saw someone laying on the bed with long black hair.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Wow. I'd tell some of my stories, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave those stories for our next appointment for your show. But what I do have to say is where I live, the house that I live in is very active, and is active all the time. And my most recent event actually happened 2 nights ago. But stuff like that always happens. I'm gonna let that for a detail, so we can cross market, so people can also come watch your show as well. Stay tuned. So, Jamie, do you have something else to share? I think your mic is acting up, because you were saying something a little earlier, or you were trying to make a comment, and it was like, I'm like, oh my god,
Don't know what's going on.
There we go. Now it's working.
All right, cool. So I've got tons more stories, but I'm not going to take up hours of your show. So if people are interested, our first ever episode, me and Nigel went all the way through both of our personal experiences from childhood to now. But going back to my childhood, I'm skipping loads from my childhood and going to my to only a few years ago, maybe about 6 years ago. So I was living at home with my mum and my stepdad, and I used to spend a lot of time just alone in my bedroom playing Xbox or working on my laptop after I finished work. I'd
Yeah.
just come home, just be upstairs. To be honest, I didn't see eye to eye with my stepdad, so there's a lot of, again, negative energy about. So I just kept myself to myself. I was about probably 20, 25, 26 at the time. So I just did my own thing. I went to work, I came home, and I just spent a lot of time upstairs. Yeah, and I was sitting on my desk one day, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, so it's only a really small 3-bedroom house, and all the bedrooms are very close together. So you just kind of know if someone's upstairs, you'd hear them. So I had my door shut, and just out of nowhere, there were 3 loud knocks at my door,
Hmm.
and it was followed by my mum's partner, my mum's ex-husband, so my old stepdad, saying, "Jamie, come downstairs now." Which, to be honest, instantly I thought was really out of place.
Yeah.
Like I say, I never heard anyone come up the stairs, which I normally would. So immediately I just sat in silence and replied, "Why?" Just complete silence, no answer. So I listened closely for the sound of him going downstairs, but I just met with absolute silence. There was no one there. So I opened the door expecting to see him there, and there was no one upstairs. So I went downstairs, and just I was a bit confused, and I didn't think anything too much of it. I was just like, "Oh, that was weird." So I went downstairs, and my mum was sitting downstairs, and I said, "Oh, did Martin just come and what does he want? Did he just call me?" And she said, "Oh, no, he's outside in the shed." So I was like, "Oh, that's strange." So anyway, went outside, and there's a really long garden path as well. So it's, I don't know, maybe 50 yards down the garden. So I walked down the garden, opened the shed, and he's there, and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. Well, what is it you want?" And he's like, "What do you mean? What do you want?" I was like, "You literally just knocked on my bedroom door and said, 'Jamie, come downstairs now.'" And he was like, "No, I didn't." But yeah, I mean, to this day, again, can't explain it. No one was upstairs, but I heard it clear as day. It was his voice, and he said, "Jamie, come downstairs now." So yeah, I think that was a spirit kind of throwing its voice and pretending to be,
Hmm.
a family member, which that was really weird, really strange.
Now, did anything happen that you might recognize as to if it was obviously spirit or something else that tried to get your attention to go down
Mm,
to meet up with them?
yeah.
Did anything transpire after meeting up with Father down in the shed that may have kind of clicked something going, maybe I was supposed to be down here to help
Mm.
him with something, or it, it did
No,
anything
it's
correspond?
nothing really happened. I mean, plenty of stuff happened in that house, but
Mm,
that situation, no idea why I was kind of drawn away, and why that happened.
yeah.
There seemed to be no significant meaning to it whatsoever.
Yeah, because
But that,
I hear some events that happen similar that are similar to this, that, like a spirit calls to you and
mm,
then you think it's somebody else, living, and you show up and they've had a heart attack, or,
yeah,
they're having a stroke, and you showed up at the right time to save them.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I've heard quite a few stories like that as well. But yeah, no, absolutely nothing of significance. It was
yeah.
just really out of the blue and just really strange. So I'll give you one more. I've got the video.
Oh, lost your microphone again. Microphone. All right. They're playing tricks on you, man. Told you. It's going to be fun. I got 4 more to do. See what happens.
But yeah, can you hear me all right now?
Yep,
Yeah,
we can hear you.
All right, so this one I won't really give much context before I show you. So this is actually, I'd call it a UFO encounter.
Mm.
So something I saw a few years ago. It's probably about during the lockdown. So I was taking a dog for a walk.
Oh, it did it again. See?
It's the FBI. They don't want you to talk
Yeah, it
about.
might be. Yeah, if you start talking about UFOs, then it probably is like the FBI or the what is the I keep forgetting the British
MI5,
yeah
MI5 or MI6. I can't remember which one.
yeah
I think the MI5 is meant to be the
they're
James
listening
Bond.
in. Yeah, they're listening in.
Uh,
They don't care about the spirit stories. They're just, as soon as we
It's the
start
as
talking
soon
about
as
UFOs,
yeah. All right, so here's the video. Can you see it on the screen?
let me bring it up
So
here.
I'm just walking my dog, and
Can you hear that? Okay.
whatever is
Yeah, I
going
can
on
hear it.
over here,
All right, sweet.
I'm
Let
fucking
me just
miles
pause
away,
this.
ready for wait.
All right, mind the
Stop.
mind the
What
language.
the fuck is that?
You can tell from the video. Wait, let me just. How do I rewind it?
What the actual fuck is going on?
Yeah, just use your player. Yeah, you could use I think your regular player to go back on
My heart is
how you would
beating
normally
so
do it.
fast. What the fuck? I'm gonna fucking go home.
But you can't. I don't know if you can
I'm
really
like in
see it
the
on
middle
the
of nowhere.
screen.
You
Can't
see
make it any
over there,
bigger.
Whatever it is, there's nothing.
You can
Come
hear
on.
in my voice. You know how
Oh, yeah.
terrified I was. You can see I was about a mile from any houses.
This is like a horror film. Start of a fucking apocalypse. Stop flashing. Oh, what the fuck?
Don't worry, this is only going to be on the YouTube channel. If it was Apple Podcast, it'd be like, eep.
I can't see it anymore.
But yeah, it was a weird experience. You can't really see it as good on that video, but on the actual copy of the video, I
Yeah,
can send it to you if you want, so you can put it in the
yeah,
stream a
yeah.
bit better. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've never seen anything like that. It was like, and the weird thing is I don't know what it's called, but there's satellite dishes that are like radio satellite dishes that they do something to do with space. And
Yeah.
right where they are, you could kind of see them from where I was. There's about 3 massive white satellite dishes
Huh.
that have something to do with radio and space. It was right over that, and yeah, just this flashing lights, and it was like things just kept dropping out the bottom of it. But yeah, I'll send you the video, and you can check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Oof. Now, and see, the paranormal field just takes up so much. So like I said, it's a huge, wide range of scientific disciplines and areas in the field, from ufology to spirits, to hauntings, to quantum physics, quantum mechanics. There's so many ranges of disciplines out there trying to explain this and trying to explain this phenomenon. Do you guys feel that now? Do you guys actually investigate too, or you just capture your own data and kind of just share it amongst yourself?
At the minute, yeah, we don't. We've gone on like a couple of ghost hunts and stuff before, but nothing too serious. But we're hoping to expand with what we're doing with your ghost stories. We're hoping to, get in the field and actually do some investigations and put some content out on YouTube and stuff. But at the minute, it's just podcast.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's I think a lot of people are waking up. There's more. I'm hearing a lot more stories coming from people. A lot more people are talking about it too. And I think with the COVID thing, when everything, I mean, the entire world went into a lockdown. I mean, that was something that was really macabre in and of itself. That's something I would never. This stuff you only hear about or read about in a science fiction novel or movie.
Yeah.
But when that happens to the entire world, there's some really crazy crap that can happen. So, I mean, everybody gets locked in their house. Well, you don't have to be locked in your house, but it's just everybody's in quarantine. It gives everybody a moment of recollection. You're either by yourself or you can't socialize. And do you guys feel that that too could have or has definitely contributed to the uptick in paranormal phenomenon, or anomalous phenomena that's happening?
Yeah, I reckon to a degree. People were forced to spend a lot of time with their thoughts. And if anything like me, where you've gone down a YouTube dark hole where you just spiral watching video after video, and then you end up on like all sorts of topics. Yeah, and also with probably people being at home a lot more, where they would usually be out all day, maybe they experienced something strange that they otherwise wouldn't normally experience. I think it has definitely opened people's eyes a bit and opened their minds to the possibility of, there could be a possibility of, paranormal. There's so many different things like over like here in the UK. There's especially in London. I can't remember which part of London, but there's like the stories of a large wolf, or as they say, a werewolf. A wolf standing on two legs, chasing after people. There was all sorts of stories, but they could be drunk or whatnot. But you never know. Well, this is
Yeah.
London. This is London anyway. So, but yeah, you never know what
Yeah.
goes on.
Are there current are there some like other urban legends, paranormal urban legends that are common to the area that you guys are in? That
There's one that I can think of off the top of my head. It's called the Fen Tiger, and it's a thing. It's been going on probably since my grandparents were around, so probably since like the 20s or the 40s. There's been sightings of this mythical tiger creature, this massive black panther. But obviously here in the UK we don't have any wild cats. But it's been spotted around the same kind of general area where we live.
Yeah.
If you Google it, you'll find lots on
Oh
it.
wait, I think I may have
Yeah.
seen something that on a documentary.
Yeah, there's a few around the UK. There's also one on the moors, and I can't remember the name of that one. But there's quite a few, these mythical cat sightings around the UK.
And some of them are quite large. When you look at some of the photographs and video
Yeah.
that were captured and you kind of reference it with background,
Yeah.
some of these
And
creatures
then
are fairly large.
Yeah.
another one. Go on.
I was gonna say what they think might have happened is because very early on in the UK, I think up until I don't know if it was the 50s or something, but people were allowed to own whatever they wanted, and so people did have in their private collections. They did have these like big, you know, panthers and whatnot, and they believe that a lot of them were just sort of some of them were released, and they ended up over time interbreeding with domestic cats, because in the UK that's one thing we have a lot of, that's like domestic cats. Whether or not that would ever work, a panther and a household tabby cat, but they think that could have bred a completely different sort of like species of this, like, and that's what people are kind of seeing. Who knows? I haven't seen anything. I've seen weird things like animal carcasses and stuff, like just really strange, like thinking, like a fish, like half of it ripped open, but it's quite far away from like the water, or all sorts of nasty stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that was. That could have been anything.
Talking about more things that have, things, famous cases close by. So up near where I live, there's a forest called Rendlesham Forest.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's one of the most famous UFO sightings probably recorded, and there's a lot of evidence to back it up.
Mhm.
And that was within an hour's drive from where I live.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. How far is that from also with Stonehenge?
I drove past it the other day. literally, I was going to Devon, so it's about 3 hours from where we live. But I literally, so you see all the Muppets paying 20, 30 quid, going to queue up to stand behind a rope, but you can just drive past the road or walk past the bridle path, which is a few meters extra, and you get
Yeah.
the same view. But yeah, I drove literally, I was meters away from it, and
Now
yeah,
with
that's another that's
yeah, with
fascinating.
with Stonehenge and all of the the crop circles and all that area, and then Rendlesham Forest, with that whole area there, the UK, have you noticed any kind of strange phenomenon emanating from any of these sites? Any paranormal activity, uptick of anything?
No, to be honest, I mean, visited a few of these places and stuff, but I've never had this kind of intuitive feeling to that feels like there's something extra special about this place.
Mhm.
Whether I'm not tuned into that frequency, or the only strange thing I see on a weekly basis is Nigel.
Yay! uh,
Oh,
there's
the aliens think that area is special because otherwise we
yeah,
wouldn't have that many crop circles.
it definitely is strange. Although there are people out there who have faked crop circles and they show you
Yeah,
how they do it. They
yeah,
get
I actually know
boards
someone
and
that did that. So back in probably about the 70s, it was always
yeah.
in the newspaper in this area. It's my ex-girlfriend's dad, and him and his brother used to go around and do these crop circles. It was got crazy in the papers and stuff, and yeah, he never like came out and said he did it. But yeah,
well,
Oh,
he has now. His secret, his
well,
cover's been blown.
yeah, it's on YouTube now.
uh, but you don't know his name. They're gonna be looking for you, man.
Hmm.
Man,
But there is one place in the
yeah,
UK, Cannock Chase. I don't know if you heard of Cannock Chase. So it's a big, large wooded area. I think it's in the Midlands, I think.
yeah.
But yeah, all sorts of creepy going on happening down there. I think back in the 70s there was a few murders. What happened there? Some guy abducting children, and sadly, yeah. But also there's the legend of the Wood Woes, which is our version of, I suppose, our version of a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch.
Hmm.
And apparently they reside in Cannock Chase. And this goes back to quite a few hundred years. One of the sightings where that they talk about a large hairy man as I don't know if it was a lord or what was on the hunt. They were hunting on horseback with his entourage, and out of nowhere they said a large hairy man ambushed them and jumped at one of the riders, knocking him off the horse,
Hmm.
and eventually wounding him, and he ended up dying. So they sent out a search party the next day to try and capture it. And they apparently chased it to a cave. But yeah, there's been many sightings of, as I say, these wood woes of people peering out behind trees and stuff like that. I need to duck back in. It usually only happens when people are on their own.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a peeping Tom to me. Some hairy man, some hairy pervert.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to go check out the peeping tom. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's on my bucket list to go visit one of those places.
Yeah.
Get touched up by a hairy thing. One of your life goals.
Yeah, just I suppose if I grow my hair long and get a full beard, I can be one of the ones peered up behind the trees.
I'm nowhere near hairy enough.
Now, you for all of our viewers and stuff, definitely want to let them know that you guys have a podcast as well called Your Ghost Story. Or is it my
Yeah.
ghost story?
So it's
No,
called
your
Your Ghost
Your
Stories.
story. And they can find that where?
So if you head over to our website, www.yourghoststoriespodcast.com.
Awesome.
Or you can find us on Spotify, Apple, or I think Amazon. Just anywhere where you'd usually get your podcast from, you'll be able to find us. Just search Your Ghost Stories podcast.
Cool. And we'll have that too in the description of this video on the YouTube channel too. So
Thanks, buddy.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome. Very welcome.
We're super excited to have you on our show as well. Can't wait to hear your story about your house.
Oh, I'm ready. Yeah. And I don't think my house was haunted before I moved in. I think the spirits just that followed me kind of like the house. They're like, "Oh man, you picked a great place."
Is that person standing behind you your assistant or?
Probably. Actually, I have several of them. Oh yeah, they do, and that's the thing. It's every time I do this podcast, not every time, but when I have these glitches, I just, I keep some of the crystals and kind of smudge the place and kind of just. I feel what needs to be said needs to be said. If something needs to be hidden, I'll know it. So, but yeah, I've got many stories to share. How long is is your show normally?
It's typically around 45 minutes
All right.
per show, but we can if you've got loads to share, we can put it into a two-piece, into a
There you go.
two-part.
Yeah. Before, during, after.
Yeah.
Before and after.
Mm.
Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, I appreciate you joining us tonight.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Nighttime.
Thank you for having us on.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. And welcome back anytime too. If you guys got some UFO stories to discuss and want to talk about on our regular program called The Seance, more than welcome to. And
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely got some more stories to share.
Sweet. Other than that, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having us, buddy. Good to meet you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for watching and tuning into True Ghost Stories, a special series presentation. And until then, as we get closer to Halloween, unless this show makes it on Halloween, we will see you next week.